Hey everyone.
I'm Jane.
I'm Kitten.
As you know, my name is Pat. It's that time again. It's time for another episode of the Kinky Christian Podcast. All right, let's get this party rolling then. Right?
Right.
Enough about SpongeBob and Patrick, and
Gotta do your intro.
got to do the intro, which, yeah, welcome. I don't really have an intro anymore. No. So, welcome, guys. If you're hearing this, then you were unfortunate enough to tune into the Kinky Christian Podcast. So, as always, I'm Pat.
I'm Kitten.
And we're gonna. I don't know why I'm smiling and laughing so much.
Because you're happy.
There must be jokes in my head that I don't understand. I don't know. So we're going to jump into Leviticus now, which we're moving right along. This is like book 3 of the Bible.
Look at us go.
Look at us. Book 3 out of 66. We're almost done already.
Almost there.
Yeah. Leviticus. So Leviticus is really, I think Leviticus is where everyone kind of gets up in arms, because this really kind of gets detailed in what we should and shouldn't be doing. I don't know how far we're going to get into Leviticus, because there is a lot to cover in Leviticus. But,
Excuse me.
okay, no, you're fine. We're going to start at Leviticus 15. And we're going to start at verse 16. And see how much fun we can have with this. So it says, when a man has an emission of semen, he must bathe his whole body with water, and he will be unclean till evening. So I need to stop right there. What if it's evening when he has this?
Yeah, that was
I
the
mean,
first thing I thought, too, was...
He's not going to be unclean for very long, right?
Yeah, you're awful presumptuous that he's only having sex in the morning.
Or maybe like afternoon wet dreams or something. I don't know.
Nooners.
Nooners.
Nooners are great.
And everyone loves nooners.
Hey.
So anyway, he will be unclean until evening. Any clothing or leather that has semen on it must be washed with water, as opposed to what, vinegar? And what else would you wash it with?
They could have washed it in like oils back then. That was instead.
I don't think they washed with oils though. I think
they anointed with them.
They anointed them, yeah. So you got to wash it with water, and it will be unclean till evening. When a man has sexual relations with a woman, and there is an emission of semen, both of them must bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening.
So sex is a dirty act.
Well, we've known that for a while. It's dirty. You're a dirty girl.
Dirty boy.
Now that's kind of, so it skips a few verses in between here, sexual wise. But if you read these verses, it goes on, and after it talks about the man's semen, for whatever reason, it jumps right into a woman's period.
Yeah. Why would they bring in her flow, except for once we get down to 24? Then
Well,
it makes sense.
right. But so that ends at 18. But then in 19, it starts when a woman has her regular flow of blood. The impurity of her monthly period will last 7 days, and anyone who touches her will be unclean till evening. Now, does that mean touch period? Or does that mean sexually touching? But I'm guessing it's touch period, because it comes down here. So if you're on your period, and I'm like, hey, how's it going?
You're unclean.
I am unclean until the evening. So
Yeah. So how do
I don't get it. Anyway,
how do you know?
Well, I would imagine back then.
They probably didn't do a lot of touching of other people.
Yeah, maybe they weren't a very huggy society.
Yeah, it's possible.
So, and then it talks about anything she's lying on during her period will be unclean, and anything she sits on will be unclean. So this woman basically has to stand and not do anything Otherwise, everything's unclean. Anyone who touches her bed will be unclean. They must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. So what I picture is when a woman's on her period, the whole freaking family is like down at the river, just dirty as all get out every evening for 7 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So anyone who touches anything she sits on will be unclean. They must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean to evening, whether it is the bed or anything she was sitting on. When anyone touches it, they will be unclean till evening. So a woman on her period must be like the nastiest thing.
According to Leviticus, it is.
You know, because just like if you're on your period and you're touching this chair, then if I even touch the chair,
You're unclean.
I'm taking a dip in the river, man.
Yep.
Because that's what they didn't have jacuzzi tubs back then.
No.
You know, they couldn't sit with the bubble bath, and
Oh, they had to go to the river.
they had to go to the river. And I doubt bath bombs were really what they are now. And I don't think the technology had come this far yet.
No.
You know, they made their own bubbles. So, and then the big brown shark came. Anyway, so now we jump back into the sexual aspect of it all. And it says, if a man has sexual relations with her and her monthly flow touches him, he will be unclean for 7 days. Any bed he lies on will be unclean. So how do you have sexual relations without the monthly flow touching him if she's on her period?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, unless,
I'm sure they did blowjobs back then.
yeah.
I know that's where you're going.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
But
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
so yeah, he would still be unclean because he touched her.
Right. But the difference is
It's sex.
7 days.
Oh, 7 days as opposed to
It says till evening. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess,
As long as she didn't get any blood on him while she was giving him a blowjob,
yeah.
then it
Then
would just be till
Till
evening.
That's the way I take it.
That's what we're going to go with.
So that's the beginning. That's how Leviticus starts out talking about sex.
All right.
Just jump right in that, man.
We're all getting unclean.
Yeah. Imagine if that was the same today. And
Some people like that.
I know. And
They would be
I
in
just-
trouble.
I have one word for you. Red Wings.
I mean,
I'm not, if you don't know what that is, look it up. But yeah.
yeah.
So now, what does it mean to be unclean? You know?
Because
I know
have to
if-
stay away from people.
Well, I know unclean people cannot like enter the temple, and I mean, it's not like you're an outcast or anything, and it's not like if you're a leper.
But they
there's
sure
certain
make you feel like it.
Well, but there's certain restrictions that, you know, clean people and unclean people can do. Like I said, the unclean cannot enter temple and can't offer sacrifice and that kind of stuff. So, I
Right.
mean, it's not like you're ostracized and, you know, but like I said, I just pictured families upon families at the community bath, man. It becomes like an event.
Or they just put her in her room and leave her there by herself.
Well, as long as, and then like slip food under the door or what?
Right, pretty much.
It's like being in prison. Here, honey, here's a cake with a knife and a file in it. You can.
We'll see you in 7 days.
Yeah. You just Netflix and chill by yourself for a little bit. So anyway, enough about that one. So now we're going to jump to Leviticus 18.
Do you want to go up?
Huh?
Are you wanting to go up?
Do I want to go up?
Or do you want to start where it starts?
Oh, well, I mean, so it starts in verse 6, but the first 5 verses are just God saying, hey, I'm God. He's talking to Moses. He's saying, I'm God. I need you to go talk to the people and tell them, hey, the Egyptians were doing it wrong. You need to obey me. And here is my laws for you to obey. So that's the first 5 in a nutshell.
Okay.
I mean, so we don't have to read them.
Okay.
But so this one is going to get very, like I said, Leviticus is what causes most of the controversy in today's society. In fact, in society, through the years, because Leviticus is the giving of the law, not just sexual, but everything. It breaks down what the laws are, breaks down the punishment for the laws. It breaks it down.
Okay.
It's not just the 10 Commandments that says, hey, follow these things. This is, you know what I mean?
Same as it ever was.
Same as that. So this is what God is saying to Moses is go talk to the people and tell them these are my laws that they need to obey. So everything, remember we kept talking, all these things that happened beforehand had happened before the law was given.
Yep.
So it didn't really consider them a sin, but there was things that he said was bad. This is God saying, okay, you guys couldn't handle it on your own. So I'm going to break it down for you,
Okay.
So do you want to start? Do you want me to read this? How do you want to do this?
I can read it.
Okay.
No one is to approach any close relative to have sexual relations. I am the Lord. Do not dishonor your father by having sexual relations with your mother. She is your mother. Do not have relations with her. Do not have sexual relations with your father's wife. That would dishonor your father. Wouldn't that be your mother?
Well, and if like stepmom,
Yeah.
anyone your mom is, or your dad is married to,
Okay.
so if step parents,
Gotcha. Do not have sexual relations with your sister, either your father's daughter or your mother's daughter, whether she was born in the same home or elsewhere. Do not have sexual relations with your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter. That would dishonor you. Do not have sexual relations with the daughter of your father's wife. Born to your father, she is your sister. Do not have sexual relations with your father's sister. She is your father's close relative. Do not have sexual relations with your mother's sister because she is your mother's close relative. Do not dishonor your father's brother by approaching his wife to have sexual relations. She is your aunt.
Aunt.
Your auntie.
Auntie.
Do not have sexual relations with your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. Do not have relations with her. Do not have sexual relations with your brother's wife. That would dishonor your brother. Do not have sexual relations with both a woman and her daughter. Do not have sexual relations with either her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter. They are her close relatives. That is wickedness. Interesting that they put that in there.
Yeah, like I said, it's very detailed.
Well, I mean that they chose wickedness at that particular one.
Yeah. Instead of dishonoring things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do not take your wife's sister as a rival wife and have sexual relations with her while your wife is living.
Mm-hmm. And that is kind of a newbie because remember they were marrying sisters.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Do not approach a woman to have sexual relations during the uncleanliness of her monthly period. Here we go again.
Yep.
Do not have sexual relations with your neighbor's wife and defile yourself with her. Do not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Moloch, for you must not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. I hope I said that right.
Yeah.
Do not have sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman. That is detestable. Do not have sexual relations with an animal and defile yourself with it. A woman must not present herself to an animal to have sexual relations with it. That is a perversion. Do not defile yourselves in any of these ways, because this is how the nations that I am going to drive out before you became defiled. Even the land was defiled, so I punished it for its sins, and the land vomited out its inhabitants.
Now you notice he punished it for its sin. We're talking about sin now.
Yep.
So.
But you must keep my decrees and my laws. The native born and the foreigners residing among you must not do any of these detestable things, for all of these things were done by the people who lived in the land before you, and the land became defiled. And if you defile the land, it will vomit you out as it vomited out the nations that were before you. Everyone who does any of these detestable things, such persons must be cut off from their people. Keep my requirements and do not follow any of the detestable customs that were practiced before you came, and do not defile yourselves with them. I am the Lord your God.
So there's the laws governing sex. Okay? And you notice it got real specific about who you can have sex with, right?
About who you should not have sex with.
Right. So, correct. And it got very specific, like, and this is where the one of the biggest controversies come in, because when it talks about do not lay with a man as you would with a woman, right?
Correct.
But it never says for a woman to not lay with a woman as with a man.
Correct.
And people are, so there's an argument from the church that says, well, it just means in general. And I would argue against that, because if you look in everything else, how specific it is, it does not make sense for that to be a generalization. And when you look right after that, where it talks about do not have sex with animals, it specifically says women also do not have sex with animals. So it calls out everything very specifically.
It doesn't say for men not to have sex with animals.
Yeah, it says right there, do not have sexual relations with an animal and defile yourself with it. A woman must not present herself to an animal to have sexual relations. So this is
Talking about
the
men.
man, and this is the woman,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
But if you look right there, it says, do not have sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman. That is detestable. But it doesn't say for women not to have sex with women.
No.
And best I can find through the whole Bible now, I mean, we're going to keep going through it, so I don't want to ruin everything, but I've never seen anything that says women cannot have sex with women. Now, there's arguments, about this all the time.
Right.
And a lot of people, like I said, the Christian aspect of it likes to say, well, that, whole thing about do not have relations with a man as one does with a woman is general for both. And it's not. You see it very clearly that it's talking about that. And then you got the gay community that, like, and I'm just saying that this is where we're going to take a lot of flack, that likes to ignore that part of the Bible. They'll listen to a lot of the other things, but when it comes to saying don't have sex with a man, they like to skip over that. And please, if you're gay, I'm not judging. I don't care what you do. That's your choice.
That's between them and God.
Yeah, that's between you and God. What it shows here is that it's a sin. We all sin. I don't hold any sin above or lower than the other. God says, sin is sin. Mm-hmm. And we all sin. We are to strive not to sin, but we all sin. So it gets, this whole thing, especially with gay guys, just gets so like jumbled and mixed up because everyone's too focused on certain things when Jesus, we're all about love. We're to love everybody.
Right.
And if you are choosing to sin in that way, that's between you and God. We sin.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, there's a lot to it, and I think that's probably one of the most controversial things in churches, like, shy away from even talking about it because they don't want to deal with it because it's so divisive.
Yeah, it is.
And we're just here to share it. You know, don't hate on us, but we're here to share God's word. This is what I believe. This is how I function. I don't judge anybody. You know, I've got tons of gay friends. I don't care. You know, I do care about them as people. You know, I love them as people, and I will support them as people. I may not support their decision, but I will support them. You know, people support me in my poor decisions. They don't support my decisions, but they support me. And that's what we need to focus on, is the love and the support of people, and separate the sin from the sinner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to explain that because, like I said, I know this is a very, very touchy thing. And I want people to know what you do is between you and God. You know, it's not up to anybody, you know, to try to say anything about it. We can share God's word. We can share what we believe, and you can share what you believe, and we can agree to disagree and still be friends, still love on each other, not be hateful, not be mean, you know. And I think we've lost that in our society.
Yeah.
So, but yes, it is very, very specific. And there's another thing. When I was talking to someone about this, numerous people, one of their things was that the reason it is the way it is because, well, it was written by man, you know, so he wrote it to favor him. And I'm like, well, but if he wanted to favor him, wouldn't he say it'd be okay to have sex with a man? If,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
If he's limiting himself, you know, so that argument to me doesn't hold water either, because if I'm going to write something and it's going to be rules, I'm going to write them to favor everything I want or anything that, you know.
Would you really, though?
Well, no. I mean, right is right, wrong is wrong, and, you know. So these are God's words. This is what we are to live by sexually. And these rules, I want you guys to keep in mind and maybe go back and read them a few times and get them in your head, because as we go through the Bible, when it starts talking about people or places, you know, Sodom and Gomorrah or what have you, it goes through, and you will always hear from here on out, you hear about sexual immorality, right? Mm-hmm. Everything talks about sexual immorality. And people are like, well, what is sexual immorality? This is it. So in my mind, God says, I'm the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He gave us this list of things. We follow this list of things. We're good. When it talks about sexual immorality, it's not talking about BDSM. It's not talking about spanking your wife or your husband. It's not talking about sex toys. It never once says you cannot use inanimate objects to have sex with, right?
No.
It gives you a list of people who are related to you that you should not have sex with, and animals, and guy on guy, right?
Yep.
In a nutshell. So for Christians to say that different sexual positions, or tying someone up, or dripping candle wax on them, or spanking them, or, you know, it doesn't even say anal sex, right?
No.
So when it talks, in my opinion, when the Bible talks about sexual immorality, this is it. So going forward, anytime we talk about sexual immorality, this is what I refer to as the Bible's list of don'ts. Agree, disagree?
I gotcha.
Okay. So that was a lot to take in. I would highly recommend reading Leviticus 18. Just learn it. It's really a good guidance. Like I said, if it's not in there, rape is not in there, but it talked about rape before. Rape is bad. Mm-hmm. So Yeah, I think you got anything else you want to add to that?
No, I do not.
Oh, and I think one thing I want to say, because, we talk about how woman on woman is not in there.
Yep.
I personally think that God allows for that, especially at this time. But I think it's allowed for because at the time you had multiple wives and concubines, and there was no way in the world one man is going to please like 300 women that he has.
No.
I mean, so I think he knew that women were going to need to take care of themselves and each other in ways that,
Yeah.
but that's just my personal feeling.
You're probably right. Well, plus, men died in war. There was less men.
Yeah, so there wasn't a woman, or wasn't a man for every woman.
Right.
So,
Yep.
But yeah. Anyway, I know, this could upset some people, and that's not our intention.
No.
We're not trying to upset. We're trying to share what we believe. We're trying to share what God says, and know that we hold no ill will towards anybody. Live your life the way you want to live your life, man. We live ours the way we choose. We like to spank and tie up and do a lot of things. You do you, because that's between you and God. And we love you all just the same. And respect you guys, and just ask that you respect us too and our views,
Yep.
So this is probably going to be the one that caused the most controversy. I think from here on in, I think it's going to be easier. So we got that rough one out of the way.
Guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Lot of Bible
We
left.
got a whole. Hey, we're on book 3. It's out of 66, so we're cruising right along.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're gonna stop this one here. I think we've done enough damage for today. So until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other, and God bless.